What do you got? What did you want to show me? Oh my goodness. It's all dark now.
I think he'd be able to.
I know.
Can sympathize. This is new stuff.
Okay, awesome.
This is pared down, obviously. But like, yeah, no. Oh, of course. Mike's gonna. We're gonna put. Yeah. Well, I certainly hope everyone had a nice little break, intermission, continuing to share your stories about these two extraordinary women. Welcome back for Act 2, Lucinda Kidder, educator, director, creator of community. Wendy and I also had the pleasure of getting to know Cindy when she lived out in Seattle, and getting to understand the dynamic between the sisters and get to know the Wilkins clan during that whole process. So to begin things, I'd like to invite Emily Clark Walton, Lucinda's daughter, to share a few things.
Thank you so much, Andy, and thank you all so much for being here. It means so much to all of us to see such beautiful faces gathered to remember two wonderful women. And now we're going to focus on my mom, Lucinda Kidder. And I'm going to read the poem, The Piece of Wild Things by Wendell Berry. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and what my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things, who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world and am free. I'm going to share my mom's obituary, which was graciously written by my brother Charlie, and I'm so grateful to you for that, because it is a daunting task. It really was. Lucinda Cindy Kidder passed away. We'll let the boat pass away as well. Lucinda Cindy Kidder passed away on November 2nd, 2024, at her home in Bothell, Washington, after a years-long struggle with colon cancer. She was surrounded by family and in her favorite heirloom four-poster bed, the bed I was born in. Lucinda was born on October 8th, 1944 in Troy, New York, to Wilbur Elwin and Martha Leland Clark Kidder. She graduated from Northfield School for Girls in 1962 and went on to attend Swarthmore College. While there, she became very active in Students for a Democratic Society, SDS, and the Civil Rights Movement. She traveled around the segregated South with the Freedom Riders, attended the March on Washington, and participated in many protests. She was also active in the anti-war movement. She received her bachelor's degree in psychology in 1966. After graduation, she traveled extensively abroad, including a few years teaching English and living in India with her siblings. That experience helped to expand her worldview even more. Lucinda received her first master's in theater education from Emerson College in 1970 and subsequently founded the Charles Playhouse Children's Theater, taught classes for the Charlestown Children's Theater, and became business manager of the Strolling Players. Over the years, she started or joined many different theater groups, including the Buckminster Players, the Framingham Civic League Theater, the Renaissance Center Theater Company, the Youth and Shakespeare Program, the Lower East Side Tenement Museum Theater, and the Hampshire Shakespeare Company, amongst others. Her passion for directing blossomed into countless theatrical and musical productions in Massachusetts, California, New York City, and Bangalore, India. Lucinda went on to further her education with an MFA in theater directing with an emphasis on Shakespearean studies in 2002, and completed classwork toward a doctorate in Renaissance drama in 2010 from UMass Amherst. In 2014, she co-founded Silverthorne Professional Theater Company in Greenfield, Massachusetts, which she was particularly proud of. Many professional productions are staged yearly at Hawks and Reed Performing Arts Center. Silverthorne is Cindy's legacy and continues to bring thought-provoking and diverse plays, mostly written by minority, disenfranchised, and unheard playwrights. Giving a voice to those who are oppressed is something she felt passionately about her whole life. Her final act of community generosity was to open the LAVA, which stands for Local Access to Valley Arts Center in Greenfield, Massachusetts. It lives on as a new arts incubator, a black box theater, and a community space. Lucinda is survived by 3 children, Benjamin Wilkins, Charles Wilkins, and Emily Wilkins Clark Walton. 5 grandchildren, Quentin Quinn Clark, Cole Walton, Alex Clark, Owen Wilkins, and Spencer Wilkins. Her brothers, David Kidder and Robert Kidder. Her sister, well, this hasn't been updated. Her sister Janet Kidder, passed 2 months later, as well as many cousins, nieces, nephews, and other family members, plus countless friends who were impacted by her loving and generous spirit. I put this on my phone, and I'm hopefully going to be able to read it. Here we stand by the Connecticut River, a silver thread running through my mother's life. From her formative years, just up the road at the Northfield School for Girls in the late 50s and early 60s, to her return as Director of Alumni Relations at Northfield Mount Hermon School in 1994. This valley has served as fertile soil for her personal and professional growth for the better part of 30 years. Much like the river itself, my mother was always moving forward, looking to the future, planning her next project, rarely dwelling on those she had successfully completed. Her infectious energy and enthusiasm, her combination of vision and execution drew people to her and helped her create communities of talented individuals to bring her projects to life. One of the things I admired most about my mom was her unbridled curiosity. She was constantly reading, learning, asking questions, and seeking answers, which inevitably led to more questions. She was genuinely interested in the people and things around her. I think this is what allowed her to draw unexpected connections and pull together smaller details to form a bigger picture. It also made her very accepting of all people and spurred her desire to promote social justice and to champion less heard voices, most often through theater productions. Theater was my mom's true passion and a part of virtually every season of her life, whether founding new theater companies, mounting productions of all sizes from Shakespeare to Shaw, teaching theater craft to children, teens, and adults, or attending performances as an enthusiastic audience member, my mom was always happiest near a stage. Her crowning achievement was the formation of Silverthorne Theater Company, a professional company here in the Valley, dedicated to producing engaging and thought-provoking theater to break down barriers and promote deep and powerful conversations. I know she and co-founder David Rowland are delighted that their legacy lives on in the incredible work that Silverthorne continues to produce. We have many Silverthorne members with us. Thank you all for coming. Above all, my mother loved her children, her grandchildren, her siblings and extended family, nature, and all living things. Wherever she moved, she always cultivated an abundant garden, or at the very least, a plethora of houseplants. There are a few periods in her life when she did not have a cat or two. Her happiest place of all was our family lake house, Spring Lake. Gatherings of 20, 30 or more family members filled her heart with love and her belly with food and laughter. My mom's passing has left a huge hole in our hearts, but I hope you will join me in honoring her by living as she did, embodying curiosity, seeking truth and knowledge, showering kindness and compassion on those around us and on our precious earth, stretching ourselves to grow in new ways, looking to the future while learning from the past, leaving the world a better place than we found it.
I don't like following up Michael Jordan over here. I'm going to do the best I can. Most of everything that Emily said was what I've been thinking. I know my brother was thinking the same exact thing, and many of you are as well. You wouldn't be here if you didn't know that my mother was an extraordinary human being. I'd seem enchanted too. I'm here to read Epitaph by Merritt Malloy. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and to old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother, walking the street beside you. When you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give to me. I want to leave something better than words or sounds. Look for me and the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least give me life in your eyes and not on your mind. You can love me most by letting hands touch hands, by letting bodies touch bodies, and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. I'll see you at my home in the earth. I have a lot of things that I'd love to say about my mother, but I'm gonna sum it up in small thoughts that just make me smile when I think of her. This is memories about my mom. Sitting in my mom's lap in the barn workshop where she guided me with her woodworking skills. Power drills and stuff. Little tiny kid and a mom with the glasses on. It was amazing. What could go wrong? Digging in the garden soil to plant seeds that would grow into veggies for the family. As Emily said, she always had a garden, and she was always bringing in food and veggies for us and saying, look, there's snap peas, try them, they're delicious. They were. As a kid, I loved that. Doing the hard work of never-ending chores that comes with living in a 200-year-old house. Me and Ben and Emily would always scrape the house and chop wood and stack wood and But it that taught me, and I think my whole family, how to give yourself to everything that you can and do it right and do it the right way and just don't half-ass it. The three of us piled on top of her while she read bedtime stories in your room, Emily, in that weird creaky chair. And me and Ben would have elbows on her. She's like, ow. Coming in from a fun but cold day of sledding in the front yard to be greeted with warm hot chocolate. She always did that. We had the best front yard with a sledding area and a rope swing, and we would come in with red cheeks, and she would always have hot chocolate for us waiting as we shed our soggy gear. A bagel toasted with American cheese on top with the corners folded just right. Underneath, never on top. Because that's just weird. If you guys like your folded thing on top, you're all savages. It's gotta be underneath. I have ADHD or something like that, and it had to always be underneath because it tasted different if it was on top. All right. Teaching me to learn from my mistakes in her kind, patient way, which helped me be a better person. Because we all make mistakes, and mistakes aren't mistakes only. They're learning. There's opportunities for learning, and she always taught me how to take those mistakes and to learn from them. Cherishing the recipes and traditions of the family before me, like Scotch toffees and Lake blueberry pie. That is something that I almost wanted to call her the other day when I was making a blueberry pie up the lake because I wanted her advice on it. And she's not here, and I miss that so much. But she also left us with so much good stuff that I will always cherish that. All of those lessons and 1,000 more of what Mom instilled in me. They came from a kind heart, a love beyond measure for her kids, and an unwielding drive to help those in her life. Those are the gifts she gave me that I will cherish for the rest of my life. I love you, Mom. Thank you. Thank you for being here, everyone.
And Melinda Griffin to come and perform Precious Lord, Take My Hand.
Just need a second. Yeah, somebody made me a little verklempt. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. When my way grows drear, precious Lord, linger near. When my life is almost gone, hear my cry, hear my call, hold my hand lest I fall. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. When the darkness appears and the night draws near and the day is past and gone, Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home.
Next we'll hear from Ben Wilkins. And we'll recite.
Form, but
Some Shel
definitely
Silverstein.
can't top that. Where's the? Invitation by Shel Silverstein. If you're a dreamer, come in. If you're a dreamer, a wisher, a liar, a hoper, a prayer, a magic bean buyer, if you're a pretender, come and sit by the fire. For we have some flax golden tales to spin. Come in, come in. This short poem felt like it was written for my mother, with how she had brought family and friends together to enjoy all that the world has to offer. From all my siblings, and from my siblings Emily and Charlie, my cousins Tom and Anna, from my wife Sarah, and my two boys Owen and Spencer, I want to thank all of you, our family and friends, for traveling and being here today with us to celebrate the rich lives of my Aunt Janet and my mother Lucinda. My mother was a woman of many passions, as most of you know. A director, a teacher, an adventurer, a lover of the outdoors, a woodworker, an advocate for those without a voice, a gardener, a touchstone for our family, a baker, a cat lover, a connoisseur of old houses.
Yes, man.
A progressive who seemed to possess a soul of an earlier age. Some of my earliest memories in life and with her involve snow. Building tunnels with her and Charlie in the front yard during the blizzard of '78 while my father was stuck in Boston trying desperately to get home. Sitting next to her, looking out the window of a bus at the falling snow in the streetlights as we drove up to Lake Tahoe during a Christmas trip to visit family in California. It's no wonder that I feel most at home in the mountains and enjoy winter as much as I do. I have her and my father to thank for that. I fondly remember riding in the back of her little orange Nissan pickup truck, going to get theater lights from Capron for shows, and driving in our yard, which I thought was so funny at the time. And I think we were helping to move wood. I don't even remember why we were. I think it was wood, but Dad, you'll have to correct me on that one. Like I said, probably for moving firewood for our old stove in the old house in Southborough. I think of her in her woodworking shop in the big red barn at all hours and in all kinds of weather to make wooden toys and other crafts to some mostly Christmas craft shows around the area. She taught me how to use those tools and helped me make wooden football kicking tees. Really? A wooden football kicking tee. Like it wouldn't break on the first time you tried to kick it. What a crazy idea my 10-year-old brain came up with. What was so special about her was that she just encouraged me to run with my idea despite how wacky it might have been. I think I may have only sold one or two, of them at the craft shows that I went to with her, but just the time we spent together and the things she taught me were invaluable. It was the same way for so many people, both young and old, from whom she worked with on countless plays over her entire life, with all the many theaters she started, ran, or directed shows for. She inspired you with her love and passion for the theater and arts, just as she did for us as well. Her legacy lives on right here with the Silverthorne Theater. Quote unquote, engaging Valley artists and audiences in conversation of our times with bold and intimate professional theater. And that's exactly what she wanted to leave as a legacy. I love the way that she always gave us three space to roam and explore. Whether it was us off by ourselves with the neighborhood kids in the woods on Walnut Drive, minus the time she busted us riding on Wally's motorcycle. Or driving Charlie or myself to the train, subways and trains to go into Boston to skate, or giving a 17-year-old a car for a whole day to pack a whole bunch of kids into it to drive all over New England to go snowboarding. On that note, her patience with all of us was also a blessing. I had a bad start to my driving career as a teenager, having done a number on 2 of her cars with a few of our misadventures. One by hitting a deer, and one by lack of oil. That Volvo did not survive. Did not survive. And she always gave us the space to make mistakes and helped us learn from them. She encouraged me to follow my passions and fuel my desire to explore the world. She was always very adventurous and independent. Even would drive us a little crazy, like the time that she drove from San Francisco to our house in the mountains of Colorado for Thanksgiving on the Nevada state roads that had no cell service. Just about killed me and Sarah. That spirit of adventure led us to lots of time together in the woods. One of my favorite examples of this was right here in Northfield. We hiked for 2+ days on the Metacomet Monadnock Trail in 90+ degree temperatures and 90% plus humidity with Nico, her beloved dog. Nico was a cattle dog?
Cattle dog, collie mix.
Long fur, was really fluffy and unhappy.
Her shadow.
That poor dog. That dog was very unhappy on that hike. But it was raining at times too, a little bit on that whole thing. But we counted over 100 orange newts as we hiked. That was kind of like, that was one of the ways to pass the time and the humidity and the rain. Because the views were a little few and far between. We also hiked a rugged section of the long trail from the Appalachian Gap, to a cabin for an overnight stay on one of our other adventures later on. And I fondly remember that. But there was no place where her love of nature was more evident than at our family camp at Spring Lake. Whether it was walking with a group around the lake or engaging in some picking of berries off the many bushes in what I like to call the cult of the blueberry, the lake was what filled her cup. As it had been with my grandparents, our mother would direct, along with all of her siblings, the show that was mealtime at the lake. She was always looking to gather the tribe for food and fun, both there and elsewhere. She brought family and friends alike together to enjoy her cooking, baking, and many holidays and get-togethers. Our mother had a passion for Spring Lake and all the family time that we spent there. She has passed on this love of the outdoors to me, for which I am eternally grateful, as I find the same kind of peace I know she felt in wild spaces. My last memory of time with her was spent with her before she passed in Seattle. It was before my early flight, when I sat next to her in her bed on that four-post bed that you were born in, that we were in the room for. That was quite the show. Quite the show for a 5-ish, 6-ish, 4-ish. It was memorable. I sat next to her in that bed in the dark early morning, about 4 or 5 in the morning. We watched the silhouettes of the pine trees swaying in the wind outside of her window. They looked like trees out of Dr. Seuss, with their contorted angles as we listened to the sounds of the Navajo flute played by R. Carlos Nakai. I told her how much I loved her and just how much I was going to miss her. Similar to a time near Yellowstone when camping, when I felt this presence of an amazing owl that was perched up high in a tree nearby as the embodiment of my grandmother Martha, who loved her owls, as we all know, which I think was forced upon her from what I understand, but it became her thing ultimately. But as she watched over me, I know that I will always continue to feel my mother's presence with me, especially when out in the woods, just as I did with my grandmother that day. Just as all of us will, I will miss her dearly, but gain strength from knowing her spirit lives on within us and surrounds all of us. Thank you.
To hear all these memories of Lucinda from way before I knew her. She came into my life when something came across, and my husband and I are both graduates of Northfield Mount Hermon, so we had that little connection. But something came across my emails or internet or whatever that said Silverthorne Theater. Well, Silverthorne to all us at an age was a theater. And I said, what is this about? And it took a little bit. And then we saw David's name, Everella's name, and we knew David. So when we discovered that it was going to be a new theater, my husband signed up, and he was in 3 or 4 of the early plays. And he was a tall guy. In fact, his most memorable moment made it into, I think it's on the webpage, where he's standing on a stair and he's got his hand out, and what you don't know is that his next step, he was down on a step, he was falling down. And something that Lucinda had created, it was, and all 6'4" of him ended up in there. But, so I did a lot of ushering and that sort of thing. And then a couple of years after my husband died, she and I were talking, and she asked me to be on the board. It's like, okay. And the next thing I know, and you probably know this about her, I was the chairman of the board. Still don't know quite how that happened, but it led to a lovely friendship with her. We spent time together, did a lot of back and forth traveling together with the show and all, or with the company. And the last time I saw her, she came to my house for 2 or 3 days. She was back east. I don't even call it that because there were issues in my own family, and I've really regretted that because I would love to have talked to her. She was a good friend, and I miss her. I miss the lovely conversations we had, and hearing some of the stories I've been hearing today about the various things she did. So she was terrific, and I miss her.
And now that all 3 of her kids have talked about that dang 4-poster bed, I can't tell you how many times myself and many of our other relatives moved that frickin' bed cross country and back, across the valley, back, cross country again and back. How many times we've taken that bed apart and put it together, and all of her beautiful furniture, but it was all heavy, delicate antiques that were getting wobblier and wobblier with each move. But the one short story that I wanted to just tell really quickly that really speaks to Cindy's spirit, I think it was 2 years ago when she was still, undergoing cancer treatment. I believe it was around that time frame. We were out at the lake, she and I, and we were talking about different projects that we needed to work on. And Cindy said, well, I cleaned off the leaves off the eaves of the roof. And I said, Cindy, how did you do that? And she says, Well, your parents were holding the wooden ladder. And this is shortly after she had, broken her leg from falling. Yeah, it was, but then she says, "Please don't tell my kids." So that's Cindy.
Grandson.
I'm Quinn. I'm also her grandson.
Yeah, and I'll go first. I think, what is it, like 2 little short stories? Well, she used to absolutely love going to my soccer games. These soccer games too, but not as much. Well, I remember this one time, this was at the time where she wasn't doing too well. I remember she'd just gotten some form of treatment, maybe like chemo or something, and well, I think she was like, I might not be able to make it. But the next game came around, and I look into the sidelines, and guess who's there? She was still there. And we lost that game, but it doesn't have anything to do with that. And yeah, just her being there just brought me a lot of joy. She was always there, even when she couldn't really walk so well. She would FaceTime my mom on her phone and watch the game through that, although it was a little bit iffy. Yeah. And then the second story, she wasn't even here, but I was in Ecuador. I went on this trip to Ecuador, and her being her, she gave me like 20 molasses cookies as a snack. Yeah, well, those molasses cookies there. If you know them,
They're good.
they're good. And I think it was on a bus ride, a pretty long bus ride with my friends, and I got them out, and they were like, "What are those?" And I was like, "Oh, they're my grandma's delicious molasses cookies." And I mean, they wanted some. I only give them one because I'm keeping all the rest myself. But they tried them, and they were amazed. They were just like, "Should I order these somewhere?" Yeah, but to me, I just love that because, like, they don't know her at all, but they loved her, what she made, her passion, even if she wasn't there.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all for being here. I'm no public speaker. I don't have a script or anything. I'm going to try my best here. And things. So I want to tell a little bit of the story. So we went on a trip, actually, me, Alex, and her. I was away from my mom for like I think 12 days in the car, going all around New England, all the way down to West Virginia, and everything. Which, I mean, for me, going into all those states in such quick succession is really strange because I live on the West Coast, and if you want to get to another state, it's like 5 hours. So, I mean, it's a very different vibe. And so we just we enjoyed all the history of those areas and stuff. Like we went to where the Gettysburg, whatever, like that battle happened and everything. We got a tour there. And I liked the history there I like when history informs the future. And I'm gonna tell you something you probably already know, that everyone dies twice. First, when, they lay down for the last time and close their eyes. And the second time, the last time their name is said. And so, I wish all of you here will keep saying the names of Lucinda and Janet as well. And I don't want you to get stuck in the past. And I want you to understand that nostalgia is great, but it's better to bring what you know with you, to be informed by the past and care more about the future. And to take all the people that you've loved with you, and because I'm sure they wouldn't want to get left behind either. And I just want you to all let the past stay where it belongs. You can cherish it, but now needs you more. Thank you.
I'm the grandson of Lucinda, and I have a story. One of my favorite memories of her was always at Christmas. She would always read the night before Christmas to me and my brother. And after she passed away at Christmas, we watched a video of her, and that meant a lot to me, of her reading The Night Before Christmas. And I have so many fun memories from the lake house with her, so that's what I have to say.
Educator. I'm married to the Graham who fell off the bed. Cindy was really important to us. We lived near her, and she was always there for holidays, and we had lots of conversations. We had a lot in common. We always talked about Emily Dickinson and Renaissance history and family history, and I really miss that. So I wrote a poem. What I have a hard time saying in prose, I can say in poetry. It's called Lucinda Adored. Let go a tear for Judith Lucinda, who knew what she wanted right from the get-go. She didn't go with the flow, she created it. So, let me tell you some of the sum that I know of a woman who was a solid foundation, a keystone, an inventor, and a freedom agitator. Allow me to instruct you on some of her facets, a broad spectrum of light, impact massive. Not one for ordinary, she told it slant. In her dictionary, there was no word for can't. Her first name displeased her, so it was dispatched. Just not a Judy, she made it a J, fitting for one who knew her own way. Hand fitted to the latch, she burst open the door, raised the hatch, on life, love, and occupation without hesitation. There was a role to play. She just didn't take it. She knew her character. No way to fake it. Lucinda, Lucinda, Lucinda the Third. 2 Lucinda ancestors. She kept this moniker. Kinship was all, to this loyal and true. Those she came from revered, those from her imbued, with such love, devotion, and concern for well-being. Fed, clothed, and costumed them, made sure they were reading, for she knew in her being that learning meant freedom. Like an elf from the north, Cindy Toymaker crafted her puzzlings, small wooden playthings that enchant and delight, free imagination. Fancy wee dollies she had when a youngster, received wardrobes of elegance and sparkling wonder, all crafted with her sublime stitchery, the beginnings of her costume witchery. To Miss Kidder, justice was paramount. She marched in formation, not sit idly by when action was needed. She wanted all to have rights enjoyed by some of the nation. She marshaled her destiny, and sometimes it swayed from Pacific to Atlantic to the dismay of relations, colleagues, and amiable folks on the opposite coast who knew her worth, who loved her most. She directed her family, kept us quite close, in her bosom protection, her circle of light, always fixing and stirring, and when are you coming? Making and baking and picking and planning. The house at Spring Lake was her special place, because that's where her whole family had their escape. Warm summer breezes, the sparkling water, berries of blue, glowing moss, wildflowers, big bustling dinners with corn on the cob, Dave's barbecue, games of oh hell, everyone laughing together again. For Lucinda, the play was her thing, William her guy, her Shakespearean fling. The curtain rose and fell on a spectacular run of inventive productions with rave reviews. To Silverthorne, the literati glitterati would come. So, let that wobbling sphere of glistening woe roll down the cheek, let that tear go. Slide slowly down, leaving a trail like a salty road map behind a traveling snail. A lachrymose puddle of missing and longing, unspoken words I wish we had time for, recollections held dear, mementos mori. It will halt at the heart, let it absorb. This way, always with us, Lucinda adored. Thank you.
Everybody, I'm Gina Kaufman, and I got to work with Lucinda at Silverthorne starting in 2019. I didn't plan to come and speak today, but as I'm listening to everyone, and I'm aware of how much Lucinda inspired me and continues to inspire me as an artist and a human being, I felt it was important to share a few thoughts about her. Starting a theater company is really hard. And people don't start theater companies when they're around age 70. And she did. And when she invited me in first to direct and then joined the board, I was listening to Heather. Heather was chair when I joined the board. I was kind of hesitant. I don't know what this would be like. And I just found myself getting more and more engaged and inspired and excited about what Lucinda and the people around her, because she always included everybody, were creating. And I started to just say, I'm part of this, and this is a way to be a leader that's not about ego or having all the ideas, but listening, having ideas as an equal. And as I'm now in my 60s, I think about Lucinda and I think, oh, my next 2 decades can be like Lucinda's. I hope so. I loved working with her, and she was a part of creating the season, the summer season that we just finished. She was on the season selection committee. She was at our board meetings via Zoom last fall, before she passed. She would come to the meetings. And then she said at the last season selection committee that she was at, she said, well, I think I'm gonna leave the season selection committee. This was in August. And she said, I think you guys have this without me. It's going really well. And I was like, yeah, but we need you. And she said, no, you don't. You're doing really well now. So I'm gonna leave this committee. I thought, oh, okay. She was a part of our plan to make it a summer season, this is our 2nd year, a part of our plan to shift to Hampshire College, which is where our home is now. She never stopped being a part of the planning and excited about it and curious about it and coming up with ideas. And the last time I saw her was at our final show last summer. The last time I saw her in person, I saw her on Zoom, but not the same. I got to hug her. She was wearing this blue dress and her eyes were just luminous. And she said, this is what I dreamed Silverthorne could be. And I was like, wow, you have this spirit that inspires us all to keep going and do this work. So I'm really grateful to be here with you all and to have worked with Lucinda so closely and to have had her as my friend.
I have a lot of, I've known Lucinda for I think about 25 years, on and off. I have so many connections with her, and I feel like a very beautiful and special and spiritual closeness to her, even though I wouldn't say that I was like a very close friend of hers. But I went to Swarthmore College at a different time than Lucinda, but we share that, and Emily too, we share that. I remember after you graduated, we met, share that. And Lucinda, I teach in the theater department at UMass, and Lucinda was a student, a grad student. Talk about the Silverthorne chapter of her life that started at age 70. I think her grad school chapter of her life, at least the part of it that I knew about, started when she was close to 60. And she was a force back then. And then I'm on the Silverthorne board as well, so I've worked a lot with Lucinda over the last 4 or 5 years. And even this spot here, this happens to be like, I'm a big biker, and I stumbled upon this spot on one of my very first bike rides that I ever did when I moved to the Valley about a long time ago, 30 years ago. And it was like my special place. I realize a lot of people know about this special place, but today when I did the Google Maps, I said, oh my gosh, we're here at this place. That means so much to me. So one quick little story about Lucinda's, and the fact of her like untiring and her focus and drive and energy. In September or October of 2024, I submitted a letter of recommendation for Lucinda Kidder for a job that she had applied for. So I may be wrong, but I may be the last person. Maybe there's someone else who actually wrote a letter of recommendation for her. She was still applying for jobs up until the last few months of her life. And whatever, I don't know whether that happened, but anyway, some people, this the chance to work with Lucinda. When she was at UMass, which was around, it overlapped with the time of 9/11. It was around the turn of the millennium in 2001. And if you remember, we all remember, many of us remember all the Islamophobia and all the hate and prejudice that came to the fore in that moment. She responded to that moment by actually bringing to our attention and bringing to like Western Massachusetts attention the importance of, like, for the first time ever in our community, finding and producing works by Arab playwrights, Middle Eastern playwrights, Islamic playwrights. And that was a key part of what we did for the 2 or 3 years that she was there. And she continued that drive and that passion up until throughout some of her work at Silverthorne and right up to almost the end of her life. So I guess the last thing I just want to say is everyone's been using the metaphor of gardening, and Lucinda is that kind of gardener who, as I hear, take in what people have said today, the person who is going to be the one who's going to look at the spot of land and think that could be a garden, dream of the garden, and then actually have the wherewithal and the planning and the know-how and the labor and willingness to get dirty to actually like dig the earth and till the soil and prepare it and create the beds. You all know, anyone who's a gardener knows the hundreds and hundreds of hours and hard labor that goes into that. And then to tend to it and nurture it year after year, season after season, so it produces things that other people can eat. And we're still enjoying the fruit of that artistically and spiritually and intellectually and creatively in so many ways. So I'm really lucky in all these different ways to have known Lucinda Kidder. So thank you.
If the people live their lives as if it were a song, we're singing out of light, provides the music for the stars to be dancing circles in the night.
So the lyrics of the song that kids just sang is, if the people lived their lives as if it were a song, for singing out of light provides the music for the stars to be dancing circles in the night. And I feel like, sorry, I had to hold it in so I could sing earlier. I feel like that makes me think of who they called Grammy Cindy. Sorry. I met Emily in, 1993, and I'm not sure how soon I was over at her house, but we were both day students, so it was pretty quick. And she introduced me to her mother, and I said, what should I call her? And Emily said, I call her Mommy. So that's what I called her too. And it didn't take that long before she was like a second mother to me. We were over at Emily's house all the time. We were like inseparable. It was ridiculous. It was like, people thought we were lesbians. And you know, when you went to Emily's house, you had to help make dinner and do food piles, chores, and it felt alien at first, and then it just felt like what you do. And we were in plays together. We were in The King and I, and I don't even know how many times we went to Shakespeare plays, and I would nudge Mommy and go, I don't know what's going on. And she would patiently explain what was happening. And yeah, there's a lot of history. I won't bore you, but when my kids came along, they called her Grammy Cindy, and they had good experiences with her, making muffins and pies. I remember being at the lake house, and Cindy was making a blueberry pie. And I was like, wow, you put a lot of fat goes in there. And she said, when you're doing dessert, you do dessert. And those are words to live by. We were just up there, and I would walk down the path to go to the lake, and she wasn't there picking blueberries. And when we went up to the loft to sleep, she wasn't up there sleeping next to me like she was last summer. I lost both my parents like almost 2 years ago, and I didn't get to say goodbye, but I was so blessed that Emily and I could sing to her and say goodbye to her and tell her how much we loved her, and I could tell her how much I was going to miss her, because she really was just like a mom to me.
She at Northfield, Mount Hermon School, class of 1962. She was at Northfield School for girls, and I was at Mount Hermon School for boys. And we really didn't know each other back then. But back in the early 1980s, I started coming to reunions, and we both got very involved on the reunion committees for the classes of 1962. And we really established a strong bond and friendship over the years. I stayed at, I don't know how many of the different houses that I stayed at different times. She would come and pick me up at Bradley. I visited with her out in Seattle, and we did some hiking out in Seattle. We did some hiking around here, and I actually met Janet in Seattle when I did that visit. And 10 years ago, myself, Janet, Cindy, and Cecil Dela Cruz, who works at Northfield Mount Hermon, we all climbed Mount Monadnock. Made it all the way to the top. And one thing I remember Cindy doing, you were talking about traveling around the country. There was one time, I don't remember exactly when it was, but she got in her car and she went around the country visiting with her classmates and supporting the school and the class in that way. And over the years, we would talk on the phone a lot and keep up with how you doing, what's going on, etc. And when I'd stay with her, we'd have long conversations over tea and that type of thing. And it was just a solid friendship. And I knew I had to be here today. I came from Texas, but I had to be here today. And I have to say, I cried when I heard she died. So I really did. It was hard. We love you, Cindy, and God bless.
Thank you. Nephew, I suppose. So I met Cindy about 5 years ago, or somewhere. That's how long I've known Nigel. Somewhere along in there. And Nigel says we're cut from the same block. So as soon as I met her, we were jabbering, and last summer, no, that would have been the summer before, when right after she sold her house in the Greenfield.
2023.
Okay. She came to the lake and she got there really late. She was exhausted. She had just,
It was after 11.
Yeah, it was late at night. We didn't know she was gonna be there. She didn't know we were gonna be there. She came in like totally drained, like all I want to see is a bed, and we were in the room she was planning to sleep in. We didn't know, and then all of a sudden then we just couldn't stop talking. We're just like she came in so tired and drained, and then we got like we were feeding off each other. We just got like so energized, like chit-chatting, and Nigel could be like, come on, you gotta let Cindy go to bed. And we were just like, both like, oh, she's like, yeah, I sold my house, like now I have money, I could actually like buy nice things. And we're both like, yeah, but like the thrift store is so much better, like you don't know what you're gonna get. It's like, yeah, we're also like, oh yeah, we just, one more puzzle piece. Like, and yeah, just chatting with her at the lake, and we just didn't run out of things to talk about.
My Aunt Cindy was such a wonderful woman. Oh my gosh. As evidenced by all these people here today, for all of everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My Aunt Cindy was, my favorite memory of her was when she drove you guys across country. And when you drove up into the driveway at Dad's house, we had a string between the two Italian prune trees that my mom was so proud of. and we had our tent, and it was like, Em, come quick, come see. And it was like all of this explosion of fun and happiness every time Aunt Cindy showed up with everybody. And like, she really gave me some really good words to live by. Don't sell yourself short, and I'm trying to live by that these days. And like, I'm just so floored that I get to be a part of this family, because we're all really wonderful people, and Aunt Cindy would be so happy to see every single face that's here today, and those that couldn't even make it. She loved us all so much, and that smile was infectious, and that's what I will always remember.
So I'll be the last one to thank you for coming on this beautiful day, this beautiful place. As you've already heard, my sisters were wonderful, complex human beings. But if somebody pushed me in a corner and said, what would you say as one word that they mean to you, I would say, Cindy's the director. And Janet was the artist. Cindy never met a project she felt she couldn't manage, on or off the stage. In addition to her skills in weaving, Janet developed a gorgeous contralto voice that gained her a place in the Seattle Opera. As is so often true, their gifts weren't obvious to me when we were kids, but they became clear as we grew older. I want to make a brief word about Cindy. My parents named her Judith Lucinda Kidder. So we grew up calling her Judy. Then there was another Judy in her class at Northfield, so she said, call me Cindy or Lucinda. I've called her Cindy for most of our lives, and that's what I'll do here. Most of my memories of Cindy and Janet are from the years when we were all adults. I'm the oldest. Bob and I and Cindy were each born 2 years apart. Janet, the youngest, came 3 years after Cindy. When I left home as a Mount Herman freshman, Cindy was 10 and Janet was 7. So I missed several years with them as they grew up in our home in Troy, New York. My clearest recent memories of being with Cindy and Janet come from the summer of 2024. Cindy and I shared time and space at Spring Lake at our family's camp. Neither of us knew with certainty how few days were left for her. We did all the lake things we've always done, picking blueberries, picnicking on the lawn during Boston Symphony rehearsals in Tanglewood, cheering for the Valley Cats minor league baseball team, often futilely, and munching on barbecues. I'm so grateful that we also visited Janet in Westfield that summer. At that time, Janet was alert and eager to connect. We couldn't know then how soon all of that would change. Altogether, though, for me, it was a wonderful time shared with both of them. Cindy, as many of you may know, was a talker. For an introvert like me, her updates on the Silverthorne theater seasons, the usually horrible state of the world, and the exploits and accomplishments of her children and grandchildren made pleasant and informative soundtracks for our time together. My memories of Janet includes the several visits Alice and I made to her and David's cabin in the woods on Orcas, and to her beautiful home in Seattle. A walk that she and I took around Mountain Lake on Mount Constitution still sticks in my mind, because we rarely had so much time together just to talk and reminisce. Later, when Janet began training for road racing, we ran together in the Falmouth 10K, a run along a beautiful seaside road from Woods Hole to Falmouth on Cape Cod. It starts at midday in the heat and high humidity of August on the Cape. How stupid can that be? So it was no surprise that we were both totally wasted when we straggled across the finish line in Falmouth. But it was fun to share the race and to share the misery. Over the years, Bob, Cindy, Janet, and I sang as a quartet for our own amusement, to entertain our family, and at family events like my mother's memorial service. Cindy sang soprano, Janet sang alto, Bob sang tenor, and I sang bass. We weren't too bad, but Janet was clearly the star. In fact, Janet outgrew us, and we ended up probably being a trio. Do I have regrets? Sure I do. Why didn't I make more time to pick up the phone and just call to chat? When they were living nearby, why didn't I visit more often? I hope they forgave me. I certainly value those times when I did remember to catch up with them in their lives. I love Janet and Cindy as sisters and strong, resilient women. I will always miss them. They are now my ancestors, part of that great cloud of witnesses who lived full lives and blessed us with their wisdom, their presence. So be it.
And anyone who knows the Northfield benediction, Emily will lead us in the Northfield benediction. And then to close following that, I will read the epilogue from David Rowland's After the Island. This is epilogue, spoken by Prospero from David Rowland's After the Island. Good friends, all things must end at last, summer's warm breath or winter's blast of mortal life. Yet ever new, fresh green of spring comes gleaming through, and humans revel in the chance to shed the past and join that dance which living is. I here have sought to make amends for what I wrought in giving up my magic arts. Thus one age ends, another starts, and grows like any simple flower, day by day and hour by hour, depending on our care. May we plant each the garden we would see here and hereafter. For the rest, if this our tale has not transgressed against your senses, show your love for us, for the gods above, by clapping hands. Thus ends the night. May soon we meet in lasting light. Thank you.
There you go.
I brought extra copies.
That was incredible.
My favorite was the fling with Shakespeare.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part. It's pretty funny. That was a great rant.
Hold on, everybody's.
1, 2, 3, cheese.
And blue
blueberries.
Everybody's gonna go more up here. So I can get everyone on the back. On 3, 1, 2, 3, cheese!